Hey, what is up YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. So in today's video, I want to talk about working on your active thinking process in order to really improve in trading and honestly in the overall personal daily life. So for me, when I started reading and when I finished reading this book, it truly just changed my entire perspective and the way that I think, the way that I react, and just everything. And I don't mean to say that in such a dramatic way, but it's honestly the truth. So this book called Don't Believe Everything You Think is focused on why your thinking is the beginning and end of your suffering. Now, of course, if you do end up reading this book, everyone's going to have maybe a different takeaway, maybe the impact maybe not as high as it was on me. But honestly, my personal experience, I think that this was such a wonderful short read, made a positive impact across the board. And if you really take what it's saying, obviously keep it simple and focus on your thinking process, it truly may change the way that you react, the way that you trade, and even your personal life. So jumping into it, I have a piece of paper with all of my notes that I want to make sure I cover in today's video. But on my last post, I was talking about losing 29 Apex evaluation accounts. Big bummer. It is what it is. I've moved on and we're going to do better. We're going to be better. But on that video, I posted on the screen my mental strategy of what I was going to do to ensure I can be better the next time around. I broke down in that video as well, like what led up to the point of me blowing my accounts. And it all started with the A part of that statement, which is my active thinking. A is the active thinking. B is the emotions that come from your active thinking. And then C is the actions you take based upon your emotions that was created from your active thinking. So the point of the book is to simply break down how our thinking is the root cause of suffering. We create our own problems in our own head. Sometimes we overthink and we overanalyze a situation, or we think a little bit too much about something in particular that we blow it up more than it needs to be. And we make it worse for ourselves. And I'm sure you've been in a moment where you thought about something a little too much, a little too deeply, and you completely blew it out of proportion more than it needed to be. Just like an argument, you can blow up an argument more than it needs to be, and it happens. And so the first thing that really has truly helped me with being able to reduce the amount of active thinking I have and be able to have much more calmer sessions before, during, and after is journaling. I know that sounds very cliche. You've heard this tip before, but I kid you not, journaling really changed the world for me. I used to journal a lot when I was a child, actually in high school, just random journaling entries here and there, writing essays every now and then too for myself. And I even wrote poems because I had just so much going on. I even grew up wanting to be a writer because I loved English that much, just being able to write things out. So fast forward to today, I stopped journaling so often, and especially in trading, I only focused on the trading style of journaling. So talking about my trades, my entries, just that boring, basic technical stuff. But when it came down to everything else in my life, I wasn't taking the initiative to write about it, right? Because our personal life 100% impacts the way that we trade. Obviously, if you have someone in your family that has passed, if you just got out of a very long-term important relationship, if you lost something important in your life, it's going to impact the way that you behave, the way that you trade. And it's important to talk about it. One way that I like to look at it is if you look at a soda pop bottle and you shake it a bunch of times and it's full to the very max, eventually when you try to open that bottle, it's going to burst, right? All the soda, all that pop is going to burst out of it. And that's because for so long, it's just been building and building all that carbonation. It's the same thing with our thoughts. It's the same thing with our emotions. If we keep it all bottled up and we keep on exercising frustration and anger and sadness and all these emotions on it, one day it's going to blow up. And that's the same thing as for a person, right? We're going to just let all those emotions out. It's going to be too much. So with journaling, I started to talk about everything. There's no wrong or right answer. I'm talking about family problems, personal problems, relationship problems, money problems. It doesn't even have to be problems either. It could be about things you like to do, like watering my plants, gratitude in life, having a roof over my head. It could also be simple things like I'm craving a burger. There's no right or wrong answer when it comes to journaling because that journal is yours and yours only. It's for your eyes only. And so the true expectation of journaling is to be able to let everything out onto that piece of paper, onto that document sheet you're typing on. It doesn't matter, but just journal it, because unpacking all those thoughts, all that active thinking, all those emotions is going to allow you to, in a way, take it out of yourself and put it over there. Instead of keeping it all here, we take it out one by one and we put it away from ourselves. Of course, every now and then it might come back to us, coming from that jar, putting it back into us randomly one moment. That's okay. But the pressure, the severity of whatever that thought is, it's not going to be as high as it was the first time around. So make sure you journal everything. And the last thing I'll say about that too is I actually started journaling when I took my trading break earlier in Q1 of 2025. I told you guys that I was taking a 2-week break and that I came back feeling so much better. And a big part of it was being able to reflect in my journal. When I look back, even to this day, 2 months later from when I took that break and reading some of the things I wrote, it's just night and day difference of who I was before versus who I am and how I feel now. So journal, just journal. The second thing is, as simple as it is, be self-aware. So it sounds easy, but sometimes you can be so tripped up in the moment, especially in trading, where we're not aware of how we're truly acting, and we're not aware or quick enough to stop the actions from the way that we feel. So for example, when you're trading and you're feeling super flustered, but you're more focused on trying to get a trade right, that's just you being focused on the trade. You don't really recognize and you don't really know how to stop yourself from feeling frustrated. And that's because you don't know how to stop the thinking you have in your head of, I need to make this trade work. I need to make that money back. I need to pay rent by the first. I need to X, Y, and Z. So being self-aware, is super, super key. This is definitely a more self-discipline thing. This is something that you have to recognize for yourself, because obviously no one else in the world is going to be able to make you self-aware. No one's going to be able to tell you, hey, you're feeling this, so you need to stop. You have to be able to recognize it in the moment. When we are first initially feeling annoyed of the market not giving us the setup that we want, so then we start to feel just frustrated from it. And then we feel FOMO when the move actually happens. And then we act upon that FOMO feeling, that frustration and annoyed feeling, and we start taking random trades without a setup. So from there, we go in a rabbit hole of just taking setups that are not there. We keep trading, we overtrade, we lose the account, and it's a whole toxic cycle all over again. So just being self-aware and telling yourself that it's time to stop. That's the biggest thing. And if you aren't able to just tell yourself to stop or cut it at your session time when you're supposed to cut it, just have a system in place, whether it's your software system that literally forces you automatically to stop trading. If that doesn't work, you can even do maybe an application on your phone or maybe even on your laptop. I think there's some available where it shuts down your device completely. So there's some, resources out there where externally it will do it for you, but the best way, of course, is to focus on your inner self-discipline, recognize where you are in that moment to be able to stop. And now the third final thing that is going to help a lot with the active thinking and being able to reduce the amount of stress you put on yourself to help the rest of your life is knowing how to de-escalate situations within yourself. For all of my CSR customer support people out there, you may be familiar with how to de-escalate situations with customers, with clients, with other people. Even in an argument, if you haven't been in customer support, you know how to stop an argument from getting bigger than what it is. Maybe it's just saying sorry and talking it out and moving on. Maybe it's just saying that you're right, I'm wrong, and just being able to be the bigger person. But in the sense with yourself, we are our biggest enemy when it comes to trading. We are basically against ourselves. It's a UVU game in trading. So to know how to have an argument or a discussion or a situation within yourself is so different because everyone is different. So if you look at it in the limelight of how would you treat yourself if you were a customer, what would you do? Would you allow yourself to keep on getting mad? Or would you just take a moment and pause and be like, you know what? You're right. I'm going to stop this. It's different per person, but being able to understand how you de-escalate yourself is the biggest thing. For me, it's putting on music right after a trading session, even a trade, and allowing myself to get out of the funk. To be able to detach from the trading session entirely can be really tricky. So being able to play some music really loud and getting into the groove and just dancing, having a little party with myself at home, it has helped a lot. So that's like a little hack that I've been doing in order to kind of remove myself from feeling so emotional or having too many active thoughts. Another thing that I've been doing as well to de-escalate with myself is just knowing that there's more opportunities to come. That was one trade. That was one trading session. That was 1 or 2 weeks of trading. that's not my entire trading career. There's so much more time in your trading career that you might remember it in the future if it was a huge loss or if it was a huge win. But know that if you are trading for the long term, for the bigger picture, one trade is not going to determine the rest of your trading career. I have 100% been there where one trade or even one session haunted me for the rest of the day. And it was so difficult to get out of that poor negative attitude because I just kept thinking and thinking and thinking about that one trade. Even the next day, I would think about that one trading session. So it's not worth it in the whole picture because yes, it's an important lesson to remember and to remind yourself, but it's not going to stop you from being successful in trading. It's not going to stop you from being consistently profitable. There is so much more time and more trading days in the years to come that one moment isn't going to be the end all be all. By reducing the amount of thinking that I have, by journaling, by being self-aware in the moment and reducing my thoughts, as well as being able to know when it's time to de-escalate and how to de-escalate these thinking processes and these situations within myself, have helped so much. So as soon as you're able to understand who you are and be honest with yourself of where you are and how you can get better, the better and faster it is that you'll be able to reduce the amount of mistakes, reduce the amount of active thinking and emotions you have for yourself, and overall reduce the amount of suffering you cause for yourself. So again, reading this book is the reason why I've been able to truly kind of knuckle down on this whole mental side of things, the emotional side of things. I do truly think that I've leveled up in a different way, being able to recognize certain behaviors, precursor behaviors as well, and managing my emotions so much better ever since I finished this book. In no way am I partnered or affiliated with this book. I'm not sponsored by them. It just honestly changed my life. And it's so crazy to say that because it's things that I already personally know in my heart, and it's things that you probably already know too. But I think it's simply that we have to remind ourselves of these simple truths and actually live off of them or by them and do the right things in order to make things better for ourselves. I know that I wanted to cover this because I did receive quite a bit of comments throughout my social media platforms, and I think that by being able to break down the things that I do personally, as well as listing out the book that really helped me, might be able to help you too. I truly do hope that this helps you in a positive way. And if you do end up, pursuing this new path and trying to have this mental and emotional breakthrough in your path, let me know down in the comments below. And even comment down below if you've read this book and what your thoughts are. Again, it's a very simple, short read, but it really has changed my life. So as always, I wish you nothing but the best and the most success in all that you do. Thank you so much for your time and support, and I will see you all in the next video.